Hello and welcome to the Post Lift Podcast. My name is John. Thank you for coming back and listening. If you want to catch this on YouTube, I have a video there. All of my episodes have been recorded, so you can check that out if you want to watch the podcast. And if you want audio only, that's kind of what I'm like. Whenever I listen to a podcast, it's usually if I'm working or if I'm traveling somewhere, especially then, or sometimes during a workout, I'll slap a podcast on. So that is on Spotify. So those two things, I just want to put that in the beginning because, sometimes you want to have a video in the background. So go check those out. Those are both on the Post Lift Podcast. And social media-wise, I have a TikTok and I have an Instagram as well. Instagram is probably the best way to reach out to me if you want to shoot me a DM or give me a follow. I definitely appreciate that. Make sure to subscribe. So all that hubbub I'll put in the intro. All of that is at the Post Lift Podcast, just to get that out of the way. So, thank you for listening. In terms of today's topic, I want to look at sleep a little bit. And disclaimer, I am not an expert. I'm an idiot. This is just my own personal experience and the little knowledge that I have, because sleep health has been somewhat of a decade-long journey for me. Probably a little bit over a decade. Just the other day was my 9-year anniversary of graduating high school. I'm still young, but I'm getting up to that decade mark, and I'm starting to feel it a little bit. I'm going to be 28 here soon. So, yeah, the whole sleep thing has been somewhat of a pet project for myself, and I'm still not perfect with it by any means. I just think this is kind of an interesting thing to talk about because sleep has become more of a topic that's brought up now, I think, in the health industry and fitness industry. And again, I'm no expert in any means, but I just think it is an important thing to discuss because we all need sleep and we all do not get enough sleep, I think. Before we get into that, I just want to kind of recap my training. So if you listen to last week's episode, I kind of went into this idea of a program where I had these 3 days I'd focus on, kind of this new little program I've been trying out. I'm not following anybody, but somewhat of a hybrid training style. So the first day is going to be running based. The second day is going to be strength based, and then the last day is going to be more hypertrophy focused. So I'm just starting out with 3 days a week. I know that's not optimal, but I've been doing a lot of manual labor in the meantime before I start my law enforcement job. So I've been pretty tired. But now that I'm going to be starting my job as an officer in training, there's going to be a lot more focus on my fitness. So anyways, so these 3 days, let's look. On my running day, I switched it up. Initially, I was only running a little bit over 1.5 miles just because of my PT standards, trying to reach that, just trying to keep up to date with it and stay on top of it. But in our introduction, my lieutenant that's been, overseeing the hiring, he sent out an email asking us to go 2+ miles. So the other day I ran a little bit over 3. I think it was like 3.13 is how it panned out. Took me a little bit under half an hour. Not great, but I just did it as a way to kind of pace myself and see how it goes. Because initially, my 1.5 mile times have just been kind of trying to get it out as much as I can and just really push through because there's a certain time specification I'm supposed to meet. So this 3 and a little extra mile run that I did went really well. I would say around 2 miles in, I started having problems with my right hip. This is something I've been aware of. I think I've mentioned this in the past when I covered a little bit of my weightlifting training. I get a little bit of pain in my right hip, and I'm not sure if it's an impingement or not. I think it is, and it sucks. It is this pinching pressure, and it almost feels like it's grinding at the same time. I mean, kind of because it is. It's grinding bone on bone, and it sucks. I know that you can kind of alleviate that through PT, and I've tried to do some of those things in the past, but I need to really get back on top of it. So around 2 miles in, I felt that impact. I know that there's also a pocket around your hip. I can't remember what it's called, but there can be some inflammation that's caused there as well. And I don't know if that sac or whatever you want to call it, I can't remember the name. It's killing me. It starts with a B. You should look it up. You can cause that to be inflamed if you run too hard or if you already have hip problems. My mom has that. She got diagnosed with some sort of condition with that. So, yeah. But I digress. These aren't excuses, just an explanation. I had a little bit of pain around 2 miles in, and then the last quarter mile, I just, sunk in, and I tried to sprint it because I just wanted to dig in, and running is definitely a mental thing for me. I know that I can run, but it's just that conversation with yourself where you're like, all right, keep going, dig deeper. And my motivation was, all right, this hurts. This sucks, but I know it's going to be way worse in the long run once I get to academy. So I just really pushed it hard as much as I can. But you get such a good payoff out of that. The whole runner's high thing is so real. And I'm of the opinion that in terms of strength training, like Olympic weightlifting, getting that feeling, that high, is way more rare compared to running. I feel like that high is really only apparent if you either get a PR or if you've been training a certain way and you achieve something, you get it. But the process of getting there is so much more grueling and annoying to get to. So it's kind of a funny thing now that I've been running more, where if I do get that runner's high, it's like, wow, this is such a great payoff. And you don't get that as much when you're strength training. So it's been a good feeling. It's great for just the mental state. I feel like my brain's a lot more clear and I feel a lot happier at the end of the day having that. So that's been great. I know that through the department and them asking us to run, 2+ miles, they're going to try to have us do that 2 to 3 times a week. We'll see how it goes. And I'm really encouraged in the fact that I'm going to be running with some other guys, and I don't know exactly how we're going to do that, but, I also did some push-ups and my sit-ups there as well, because my focus with that running day is more around my PT standards. Yes, I've passed my employment physical fitness test, but there's also one for passing the academy, and I just want to keep up to date with that. So that was that day. Good overall, a little bit of pain, but I pushed through, and I felt great in the long run. The rest of the day, there was a little bit of pain in that hip, but the funny thing is the next day. So the next day I did some strength training. I posted a video on my Instagram. If you want to follow me at the Postla Podcast, you can see it on there. Just kind of a quick montage of, I'm having my days mixed up. I have a montage of me running and doing my sit-ups. That's what I'm thinking of. I have a previous strength training day on there, but kind of a similar pattern. I did a bunch of benching and some Olympic weightlifting. And the bench, I've covered this before, is not something that I've really focused on. I've had it in the past of just like something I've done, or it's been something muscle recovery related, just being healthy for my Olympic weightlifting, but it's never something I've really pushed myself in. And in the past, I've been able to do 225, 2 plates on the bar, and I'm chasing after that. That's my current goal with the bench. So I'm up to 205 right now. I originally started at like 115. Both definitely small numbers, but it's a journey. Everybody starts somewhere. And so the 115 was fairly easy for me. I mean, I wasn't struggling by any means when I first started out, but I just wanted to kind of be careful. And I kind of took a big jump after that to then, I think like 185 afterwards. And I've just been building off of the 185 ever since then. So now we're up to 205, and it felt great. I definitely struggle a little bit. And because it's just not new, but I think pushing myself, I'm new to it. It's kind of a new movement. So knowing where I'm at during the rep is something I'm learning of, like, oh crap, am I going to be able to get this? So it's been interesting learning that dynamic, but I kind of did a pyramid style in terms of my sets. So I really built up, and then I did some decreased, weight sets afterwards. So that felt great. I got a good chest pump, and it's I really love pushing movements. It's a kind of a give your all type feeling. So I benched, and then I did a bunch of complexes for my cleans. So if you aren't familiar, a complex in Olympic weightlifting is just a set of different movements. The whole purpose behind training in Olympic weightlifting is breaking down your snatch and breaking down your clean and jerk into just incremental pieces. And sometimes what they'll do to, fatigue yourself and really push your endurance in the lift is complexes. And the complexes are just, sets of different exercises rolled into one set, I guess you could call it. So, for example, and this was a long one. Normally a complex you only want it to be like 3 things max. Mine was a little more just because I wanted to exert myself. So I did a clean pull, and then I did a hang power clean, and then I jerked it, and then I caught it on my back. I did 2 squats, and then I did a behind the neck jerk, and then I just recovered it. And I did that more for my own endurance, but also I just wanted to hit a little bit of everything. I hit my legs, I hit a pulling motion, and I hit a pushing motion. Just kind of wanted it all encompassing. So that was great. And then I finished off the day with just some arm curls, just because I felt like it. I didn't really do all that much, but I was just so exhausted after the previous day's run. So that was kind of interesting. Again, I'm just trying to get back to my roots with Olympic weightlifting. So I think that kind of the goal with that complex yesterday was just to have fun with it and feel how my dynamic is. I definitely felt imbalance in a lot of my movements. I'm definitely not as strong as I was overhead, and I used to be fairly strong overhead. My core is a lot weaker, especially my lower back. So, yeah, I guess now that I'm thinking about it, doing the complex was kind of a real good way of testing myself and seeing my capabilities. So I'll build off of that. But yeah, overall a great day. Got a good pump. Last day is going to be today, actually, and I haven't gotten into it. That's going to be the more hypertrophy based day. So we'll get into that. I think I'm going to do some pull-ups. Over here I'm in a barn, and there's a big doorway here, and I can actually do pull-ups on it. And eventually I want to get a weighted belt so that I can start doing weighted pull-ups. I'm going to try to figure out how I can do some dips, because that would be a really great thing to do. And I think there's going to be some more arm curling, and I don't know. I'm kind of in a phase of I'll figure it out as I go. Maybe not the best training methodology, but it's just what I'm doing right now. So that will probably be after the podcast. So yeah, that's kind of been my week. So far, I will say that this training methodology that I'm doing right now, this programming has felt really great to me. The one caveat to it all is food and my calories and my weight. I'm a lean guy, and especially with the running, I've lost a lot of weight. I've probably lost 10 to 15 pounds ever since I started this whole journey of becoming a law enforcement officer. So I'm around 160 right now, and I am not happy about that. I know I'm going to get a lot of people being like, screw you, why are you complaining about losing weight? But I'm just on the opposite end of the spectrum, and it is hard. There's one thing where when you have a surplus of weight and you're trying to lose it, it's not easy by any means. It's very hard. It's just a different battle. And there's something about eating clean and then working out and suppressing maybe your hunger, your appetite, kind of your addiction to food. That's definitely hard. I feel like it is very much a mental battle. Yes, it's a physical one as well, but it's just all mental and attitude, I think, and just what you want out of it. In terms of the opposite spectrum, which is where I lie, it is solely effort and just eating and grit, and it is so difficult, because it'd be one thing if I was just dirty bulking and eating ice cream and eating Uncrustables and all that crap, which, I do eat occasionally. But when you're trying to eat clean and gain muscle and weight, boy, let me tell you, it is difficult. So I'm trying to be healthy. I need to really get on top of my meal prepping, and I'm going to now that I'm starting a job. So to all of those of you who are skinny trying to gain weight, I feel you. It will get better. So yeah, I think what I'm learning about this programming is it is a lot of high fatigue and a lot of effort, and I just need to up my calories because, I've lost weight, and I hate seeing that. It's frustrating. But that was my week. I think I like the programming. I'm still tweaking things. I'm figuring it out. Maybe in the long run it won't work, but right now I'm happy with it, and it feels good to do. It has variety, and that's just part of the whole fitness. I don't want to use the word journey. I keep coming back to journey. I hate that word. Timeline, just kind of your training timeline. You mature and you change things as you go. So that's this past week. It's been great. Alrighty, so sleep. Let's get into this. So, like I said, in the past decade plus, probably around 8th grade to freshman year of high school, I started developing bad sleeping habits and sleeping patterns, and I was just in a deficit all the time. I think it was just because an increase of anxiety. I have a lot of anxiety as a person, and I think there was also a big factor with this, my phone. And this thing is great, don't get me wrong, but trying to have a better relationship with it as a tool compared to just an entertainment device and something that sucks my soul is a very difficult thing for me. I'm sure it is for you. I'm sure it is for everybody. And it's a funny thing where everybody says, oh, I wish I had more time off my phone and this thing is awful. And we all say it and we all know that there's so many unhealthy habits with it. But does anybody do anything about it? I don't think so. So just trying to figure that out has been a very interesting dynamic. So this has not been a helpful thing, my phone. I think that was one of the big issues. But between that and anxiety, those were definitely the two biggest things that really put me in that position. So ever since then, I struggled over the last several years, and I'm doing better now. I'd say the last 2 to 3 years, I've been doing a lot better with my sleep. And that's because I've just done a lot of playing around with what works. And I have found some of the things that have worked for me, some of the things that have not. So it's gonna keep going. It's still something I'm learning every day. But like I said in the beginning of the episode, it's kind of talked about a lot more now. It's become a pretty popular subject. So there's more out there that I get to learn, which is great. So let's get into it. All right. So I would say in those beginning days of 8th grade to freshman year, all the way to, I want to say freshman year college, I would get anywhere between 2 to 4 hours of sleep per night. And it really sucked. I would lay in bed and I would either be on my phone or I'd toss and turn. I get really bad nightmares too, which doesn't help. And I sometimes wake up with really bad sweats. It's not great. Definitely not attractive. And those 2 to 4 hours, I would just, I'd be on my phone, or I'd be anxious about something, or I'd be thinking about a girl, or performance-based anxieties and anxieties over school because I was just so distracted all the time. So I just had these things in my mind, contemplating life stuff, existential things. I've always been very existential in my mindset with the world. And I think those were a lot of the root causes of those issues initially. And I just didn't really have a very good self-concept of who I was, and I was still trying to figure myself out. So those were all really big factors into why I was only getting 2 to 4 hours of sleep. So come around sophomore year of college, I was like, holy crap, my life is, it's awful right now, and I'm not happy. In reality, my life was not bad. It was just my own internal view of what was happening. I just didn't feel good about myself. And I know a lot of people have similar feelings, and what happens is you tend to not do something healthy. Usually, I would believe that when somebody has a bad concept of themselves, or they feel bad about life and they're not doing well, it's more likely something's going to turn to something bad compared to something good. At the time, mine was drinking. Mine was just being wild. I've never been extremely destructive. I've never been somebody who has been... I've never been a huge rule breaker, is a good way of putting it. But, I was 21. I had just gotten out of a relationship that was big to me at the time, and I just started drinking a ton. And alcohol does not affect your sleep well. It does not affect your recovery well. There were days, and it's fun looking back on it. Of course, I can laugh about these things, and I'm still buddies with the guy. But I used to go out and I would drink a crap ton, and then we'd go to Planet Fitness drunk, and we would we would use the Smith's machine and do a bench press, quote unquote, and stuff like that. And those are funny memories to look back on. But there's also this thing for me where I'm like, holy crap, I was just not treating myself well. I'm sorry about the chicken in the background, by the way, if you hear a dinosaur making crazy noises. Anyways, I just wasn't treating my body well, especially in terms of, there's the dinosaur again, especially in terms of just drinking and my recovery process and sleep. It just was not good. So after that period of time of just being destructive to myself, I was like, I don't want this anymore. I just want to change who I am, what I'm doing. And that's kind of brought me to today where I have this self-betterment journey, and of course I've had feelings in that whole process leading up to today, but I've also had some really good wins. So first thing for me was cutting out drinking. And sure, I've had some wild times since then, but overall, I'm not somebody who really drinks a lot. And I would say, especially in the last year, I've gotten to a point where I'm like, wow, maybe I don't like drinking. Almost to the point that I'm practically sober now. And I'm not going to sit here as well and be like, you shouldn't drink. You have to be sober like me. I shouldn't use the word sober. I'm not sober. But I don't drink. I'm not going to sit here and be that person to preach to you and be like, you need to stop. But there is just a lot to think about in terms of your muscle recovery, your cognitive ability, and your sleep habits in terms of alcohol and just what that does to you. It just can really lead to awful things for myself. I would advocate for the opinion that I don't think it's great for anybody, but people should live how they want to live. I'm also a big advocate for that. So I'll still go out and drink, it's just kind of what happens in your 20s. But I've also taken on this role of being the DD usually when I go out, and I'll have maybe a beer and like a shot or two, but I usually keep it at that. So anyways, I just went on a whole tangent about alcohol. Alcohol really affected my sleep in that time, and I wouldn't say I was medicating myself, but I just recognized that, all right, the alcohol needs to go, and this lifestyle needs to go of going out all the time. Like, that needs to go away, and I need to find myself and figure out who I am. And, the gym journey had started at that point, but I just went an extra step and really went into it a little deeper and did a lot of soul searching in that time. And I was like, wow, the sleep thing really needs to be changed too, because this whole 2 to 4 hour thing is not good. And your anxiety is just way worse. You're riddled with it all the time. I was still so skinny. And I just needed to get to a better place with myself. So the first thing I started really trying to focus on was my phone and trying to be better about it. Now, this took a while, and I'm still not great with it, but I got to a point where I was like, all right, I know I need to be off my phone by midnight or by 1 o'clock, around that range. Because initially I would be on my phone till like 2 to like even 6 in the morning sometimes, but usually it was like 2 to 4. I'd say 3:30 was usually my time I'd get off my phone. So I'm like, all right, let's cut it off and let's stop around 12 to 1, and we'll start there, baby steps. That took a while, and there's a lot of tossing and turning that came about from that. And a lot of wrestling with my own internal demons as well, because, the phone is a big distraction from that. So putting that thing down was tough. So that was like the first big step of just putting on a guardrail for myself to say, like, all right, don't go past this. Now, I would say present day, I'm finding myself going to bed around 10 to 10:30 a lot more often, even 9 at times. And I'll probably be off my phone around probably 11:30. Or this is what it is. I'm thinking about it right now. Usually what happens is I'll be in bed anywhere between 9 to 10:30, and then I'm on my phone and I'll usually watch a video like Queso. I love Queso. And I'll go to bed listening to him, and then I'll fall asleep, and usually around 11:30 to like 12:30 I'll wake up and then turn my phone off and then go back to bed. And I have been able to sleep nowadays probably 6 to 8 hours, which is great. It's usually 6.5 to 7, which is way better compared to what it was. So I've built off of that, and the biggest thing for me has just been like, all right, don't be actively on my phone. The whole watching YouTube videos thing is not great, but I think it's become kind of a habitual thing. There are days where I do just like slap my phone down and say, all right, I'm not doing this tonight. And it takes a little bit, but I fall asleep a lot faster. And I think the process of watching something or listening to something, falling asleep, and then waking up and then having to turn everything off and then try to fall back asleep again, you just you mess yourself up so much more in the long run compared to just like having that starting point and then moving forward with it. So I really need to do a better job of not watching stuff before I go to sleep, because yes, there's this whole thing about blue light and, stimulus, which I definitely agree with, where you're just stimulating your brain to think about things and to process things, especially when you're watching something like TikTok and you're just scrolling. You're getting these huge dopamine rushes and a little bit of adrenaline to cause yourself to stay awake, and it's just like, that is not good if you're trying to fall asleep. I know for some people they say, oh, well, it makes me sleepy. Well, I think your brain gets distracted, but you still have this stimulus in you, whether you recognize it or not, and then you might wake up 2 hours later because your brain's like, I'm still going. And it's just not good. So the phone, definitely a big thing. I need to work on that. So yeah, I would say, kind of going back to those first college days of recognizing that I need to fix this, I think the phone was the first big thing. I tried the whole melatonin pill phase, and it's great. I know that there's all these studies saying that it can tank your estrogen, not your estrogen. It can increase estrogen in guys and deplete your testosterone. I don't know enough about that, so I'm not really going to comment on it. But I kind of got away from using my melatonin because I was like, I don't want to resort to just having to have this all the time. And I'm pretty sure that you build up a tolerance over time. So it's like, why would I do that? Maybe I'll use melatonin when I really need it. So I'm not going to use it every single night so I don't have to build up a tolerance. So that kind of went on throughout college, those two things, melatonin and the phone screen time stuff. All right, skip to like 3 or 4 years ago when I started really taking this seriously. Because I just think it's mostly because I matured. The big thing that has helped me has been mouth tape. Mouth tape. Taping your mouth shut. And there's ads, I know for me, maybe just because I'm the consumer of this, but it's been all over my phone. This a huge topic that's discussed now in the health and fitness industry. Taping your mouth shut has been so good for me and so beneficial when I sleep. I'm naturally a mouth breather. I don't know if it is an anxiety thing for me, but I've just grown up doing that. And, I don't have my mouth just like completely open, just, but I have my mouth open just very subtly, or even to points where like it is fairly open and people have called me out on it. But when you breathe through your mouth, you're not cycling through your oxygen as well, so you don't get the benefits of your brain getting oxidized as well. Oxidized? I think that's the right word. oxygenated. I don't know. I'm not going to tackle the big words. You don't get as much oxygen into your brain and into your lungs when you process through your mouth compared to your nose. And that causes you to be a little bit more lightheaded and loopy, which is something I definitely feel. And ever since I've started to try to breathe through my nose more, I have felt more centered and calm. And I think a big reason with that too is when you breathe through your mouth, you have more shallow breaths, which cause you to simulate a heightened state of adrenaline or even fear or anxiety, which are all things that I feel often and I'm still struggling with today. But I started using mouth tape at night because it forced me to close my mouth, breathe through my nose, and just have a better breathing cycle while I sleep. I also I have some issues with some apnea that I'm finding out. I take to my mom's side. She has a sleep apnea mask. I hope I don't have to have that in the future. There have been some things that have been studied where they say, oh, well, if you start early enough with the mouth tape, you actually might hinder yourself from having to wear a sleep apnea mask in the future, So I'm trying to tackle it on early because I don't want to have to wear that whole thing. If you have a deep issue like that, yeah, definitely wear one. But I personally don't want to have to do that in the future just because I know I'm not going to be comfortable. So yeah, the mouth tape just kind of forced me to breathe through my nose. It calmed me. You're just in this heightened state that's just so bad. So that has been the biggest thing. So far, screen time and mouth tape. All right. I guess kind of jumping off of the melatonin thing, I don't take it anymore. I didn't go through a huge phase with it. I did take it, but now what I take is magnesium. And the average human being does not consume as much magnesium as they're supposed to. And supplementing that is huge. The way I do that is I just take one pill daily. I don't remember how many milligrams it is, but I just take basic magnesium. There's some compounds of magnesium I'm going to look at later on. I'm going to look at threonate and glyphosate. Those are two great ones. I know threonate is typically used in terms of your cognitive ability and your nervous system. It will help stimulate that in a positive way so it works better, and it will help recover it in a much more effective way. And then glycinate is more towards the muscle healing process, and they're both calming and they help, but I believe that the glycinate you're supposed to take more towards nighttime where you want to have that kind of calm recovery period with your muscles, and then threonate I believe you take in the morning time in terms of your cognitive ability and causing you to focus and be calm and just aware and centered. So the great thing about glycinate is it's typically less expensive. Threonate is much more expensive. I'm going to play around with which one I might want to start with just because I don't want to rob myself of money. But I really don't know what I'm going to do yet, but I want to try one or the other, and I might even get to the point where I do both. But currently right now, I just take basic magnesium. It is so important for your sleep habits just because it causes your nervous system to become more calm. And that is definitely, if you cannot get the theme, I'm an anxious person, and having a calm nervous system and just calm manner is really impactful. So I've been taking that every single morning, and I would say between the mouth tape and that, those have been the two biggest heavy hitters for me to have a better sleep process every single night. I still fight with some deficits here and there, but the second that I really am committed to those two things, of the mouth tape and the magnesium, I just get to a much better manner, and I have like an 8 or 9 hour sleep night, and I feel way more recovered than I usually am. So, so get some magnesium, take just a basic supplement of it every single day, and I think it will help you a lot in the long run. I think I'm leaning more towards the magnesium threonate because of the cognitive benefits. There have been some suggestions in the fact that it helps a lot with ADHD. I'm highly ADHD, and I don't necessarily want to take medication for it. I might get to a point of it someday, but right now I want to try something more natural and good for my soul and spirit. I want to have something that's just kind of, it's not going to completely mess with my chemical balances. So we'll see. So magnesium, that's the next big one. All right. The next one is a little smaller out of all these things I'm going to mention. It's a pillow. So I am one of those people where I don't move a lot when I sleep, but leading up to sleeping, I don't fidget, but I move small little bits a lot. And it's just because of comfort level. And the two biggest things that have helped me have been knowing what positions to hit at a certain time. It's a crazy sentence. And using a pillow, also a crazy sentence. So I found myself more recently sleeping on my back and just really letting my spine decompress, and then putting a pillow underneath kind of where my knees are, and just relaxing that. I found that really relaxed my lower back and my spine to just kind of let it be, because I don't know what it is when I would lay on my back and my legs would be straight. I could feel my lower back really trying to just work as I laid there. But for some reason, the pillow elevating my legs just the smallest little bit kind of had that pressure taken off of my lower back and just straightened things out and kind of decompressed it. And that made me relax a lot more. And then it just helped a lot with comfort level. I felt like I was fidgeting less in bed because I had a little bit more comfort. I just couldn't get comfortable when I didn't have the pillow. The other position I have found is on my sides. I'm a side sleeper. And just putting it between my knees. One of my big issues I found was I would have discomfort in my knees touching and my ankles touching for some reason. Just the pressure on my legs whenever I'd have that would be really uncomfortable. Or if I slept in my boxers or shorts or something like that, I just didn't like the way that my skin felt touching one another. So that's kind of a small thing. Basing off of that, there's a study I found recently where they were talking about the fact that in terms of your dreams and your sleep process and what you go through mentally, typically if you sleep on your left side, you're going to have more negative dreams and a lot more anxiety and nightmares, whereas when you're on your right side, you are more likely to have calmer dreams that are, better, more relaxing. It's not completely proven, but there's been some studies done on it, so I think it's kind of interesting, and I've tried to play around with it. And I have also found that the days that I have kind of anxiety-based dreams, I have found that it's been more on my left side. So that was really interesting. I need to look into more topics like that. So the pillow, you should try it out. That's a great thing. This is another small thing, but the temperature. I have realized that, yes, I don't want to be completely frozen, but I do not want to be completely hot too. There's nothing worse than just oh my gosh, being hot in bed. And I have never been a person to have a million pillows and a million blankets, let alone a very thick blanket. I feel constricted when that happens, A, but B, I just get so hot to the point that I have to uncover my legs. I always have to have my feet covered for some reason, but I'm also not a big sock wearer. I hate wearing socks in bed. But I have to have my feet covered, and from a young age, we found out that typically I would have my nightmares if my feet were uncovered. So that's just a weird thing that we figured out about me as a kid. So to this day, I try to be cozy, but not hot, and just trying to have a cozy comfort level. And then if you have a room that's just baking, you're way more likely to wake up in the middle of the night and be like, oh my gosh, I'm burning up here, because you're burning calories as you sleep. So yeah, cool temperatures are a huge thing. Let's see, what else is on my list? Calories. So they have found that eating calories before, I think they say you want to have it 2 to 4 hours prior to sleeping, you should stop eating, because what happens is your digestive system wants to go into work mode, and it causes you to want to wake up more in the middle of the night, whether that's you having to go to the bathroom or just waking up in general. And that is something that I have fallen fault to over the last several years, and I'm still trying to work on it. It's really hard because usually you get that last night snack. I feel like it's like 8 to 10. I get this huge hit of like, I want to eat everything ever right now, please. And because I'm dehydrated like 90% of the time, usually water is a huge thing that I hit too. But water isn't as much of a big worry. I mean, obviously, you get up in the middle of the night to maybe go to the bathroom, but the food thing is huge. And I've really tried to work on that recently. But it's so hard when you are somebody who's trying to gain weight just because you have this mindset of like, I need to eat, I need to eat, I need to eat. And if you've had a long day and maybe you've been too busy to eat a lot, you're just like, oh my gosh, I need to get these calories in. So I can fall to fault at times, and I just will like, more often than not, I'll just pound food into my face hole and just, and I do end up finding that I get indigestion, or I'll wake up in the middle of the night and it's not very effective for my sleep. So trying to limit that is something that I'm working on right now. Waking up early. I'll get into this a little bit in a couple minutes, but waking up early is definitely a huge thing. You're supposed to wake up and get some sunlight contact. You are more likely to have some blue light in the morning, which is actually a healthy thing. The sun will produce it, and it causes your circadian rhythms to want to relax later on in the day, where it's going to say, all right, you're all good, time to sleep. So waking up at an early time at, dawn, right? Yes, in the morning time. I'm stupid. You are more likely to hit that blue light in the morning and get that sun contact, and it will help you to sleep later on in the day to relax yourself. So that's something I've also been trying to do. I will wake up, I'll go out with my dogs, we'll take a walk, we'll just get in the sunlight for 15, 20 minutes, come back in, and I'll start my day. And that has been a huge thing. Brown noise. Brown noise. It's a real thing. If you've heard of white noise or gray noise or pink noise, here's its brother, brown noise. I'm such a child. So brown noise, I'm looking through my list. I would say the magnesium, my mouth tape, and brown noise. Those have been the three biggest beneficial things I have found for myself in terms of sleep health. Now, brown noise is a specific lower frequency that is kind of rumbling, that really cuts out noise, and it has a big calming effect. So people will usually use it when they are sleeping or studying or just trying to relax. It's so comforting. There have been some suggestions that it emulates what the womb sounds like. So I think it helps kind of reproduce this calming manner of your inner child. I think it helps produce an environment where you are calm, and it kind of brings you back to this like childlike rooting feeling where you are kind of brought back to the baseline of just being calm. And I'll play that at night at a very low noise on my phone and just let it play through the night, to the point that I feel like my Spotify Wrapped at the end of the year, because I've been using it a lot this last year, I'm scared to say that it's not going to have any of my favorite songs that I've played. It's just going to be all these like brown noise frequencies tunes on Spotify that I'm going to be listening to. It's going to be like, wow, what does this say about me? But try out brown noise. I know some people really find white noise to be effective. You know, they'll obviously use that for their kids to kind of eliminate things. But I find that white noise and gray noise tends to be a little bit tinny in its frequency. It's just right there in my ear, almost like a mosquito, and just kind of right in your face. And it's not very calming. Like, it eliminates things. But brown noise, I don't know how to put it. I feel like white noise is very clean sounding and just eliminates everything. But when you're listening to brown noise, I feel like I get wrapped up in a blanket that was just taken out of the dryer. And it's fresh and clean. It smells nice, and it's like, it's not a good representation of it. I just became a demon. Look up brown noise. I'm not going to be able to reproduce this and give it justice, but yeah, that has been the biggest thing for me, I feel like, other than the mouth tape and the magnesium. Those three things, magnesium, mouth tape, and brown noise. Those have been my big heavy hitters. They work for me. And like I said at the beginning of this podcast, I am an idiot. I'm not an expert on any of these things. I'm just trying to walk through life and figure out how to sleep better. So present day, those three things have helped me the most, and I'm getting anywhere between 6 to 9 hours. Usually it's an average of like 6.5 to 7 hours I'll get every single night. And it's great. So like I just said, the waking up early thing, I'm just going to touch on this. So I start my job, and we're going to be responding to the department at 8 o'clock every single day. I'm going to try to get there early, which means I have to get up early for my dogs, and I have to travel like 35, 40 minutes for it. So that means I have to get up at a pretty early time. Why is this important? Well, currently I've been waking up anywhere between 6:30, realistically probably like 7, up until like 8. I'm going to be trying to get up at 5:30 every day. And not in a way where I'm a David Goggins hype beast of being like, you have to wake up at 3 or 4 a.m. every single day and blah, blah, blah. Like, no, that's not what I'm trying to go for. It's just the nature of what my job entails. And that's okay. It's going to suck a little bit, but I think it's just going to be a habit I'm going to learn. And that means I'm going to have to be in bed by like 9 every single night, which kind of sucks. That is really the only thing. The waking up early, it's fine. I'm fine with that. The going to bed at night that kind of sucks because, you know, if you have friends or if you're dating somebody, most everybody else is not going to be waking up at that time. But that's okay. Maybe that's just the loneliness in me. But I am going to be doing this 5:30 waking up thing, and it's going to suck, but I know in the long run it'll get easier over time. It's just a small aspect of how my life is changing. So I'm interested to see what's going to happen there, in terms of like, oh, maybe I'll run in the mornings before I get to work because I'll be able to get that blue light in the morning and the sun contact, and I'm going to be able to, you know, be out with my dogs a little bit. But also, maybe I am going to get that huge rush of dopamine in the morning where, you know, I've accomplished something and I feel good and I've been active and I get that runner's high. So maybe it'll be nice getting that leading into the work day. So that's kind of where I'm at now. As a whole recap, just everything that I just spoke about. A, I'm not an expert by any ways. This is just like my interpretation of my sleep habits. B, decrease your alcohol intake. That will help you a lot. Next, you're going to want to look at maybe some mouth tape. That's helped me a lot. I used hostage tape. I still use hostage tape. It's expensive, but I'm comfortable with it. And don't be afraid of it either. I know a lot of people, their reservation of it is like, oh my gosh, what if I have to wake up and I'm going to be choking on myself? That doesn't happen. It just doesn't. I'm sorry. It's just all a mental thing. Like, put it on. Get over it. You're fine. Magnesium intake, your pillow, the brown noise. These are all factors that have really helped me. I have gone from a long, almost like a decade-long period of having anywhere between 2 to like 4 hours of sleep. And over the years, I've just kind of recovered to a point where I'm doing a lot better and I feel healthier. I've been able to actually gain weight because of it. I have a little bit of a hypothesis where I know I'm a lanky person, especially now after all my running. But when I was like able to gain up to around 180 pounds, I was just sleeping way better and I was taking better care of myself. And I have a feeling that I was just super skinny in those years. Like, I was already skinny, but even more so because I wasn't sleeping. Because insomnia really affects your weight. So yeah, play around with these things. If you have trouble sleeping, I would say start with the phone, start with the alcohol, and then look at everything else. Go from there. These are just my suggestions. Live how you want to live. And yeah, that's kind of a summation of today's episode. I just thought this would be an interesting thing because it's something I'm still working on presently, and I know I will for the rest of my life. I know my big answer for where I am now, even though I have these tools to work on, my big thing now is the anxiety and spearing that. I've gotten better, and I would also say that my sleep habits have helped a lot with my levels of anxiety and just being able to be calm. I'm growing up as well, so that helps, but anxiety is a huge factor into not being able to sleep well. So, yeah, there's that. Go to sleep. Make sure you sleep well. So, follow me at the Posted Podcast on all socials, Instagram if you want to interact with me. But if you want to listen to my episodes, like I said in the beginning, video is going to be for my YouTube channel. And then if you want just audio, that's going to be on Spotify. I also have a TikTok. I barely use it. I mean, I post on there, but I don't care about TikTok all that much. I appreciate you guys a lot. I hope you're doing well. Last note I'll end on is tomorrow is my first day of work at my law enforcement agency, and I am excited for it. So I will give you updates of that next week, and we'll see where we go from there. Have a great day. Take care of yourself. Look out for yourself, because nobody else will. No, I'm here. I'm here for you, and I hope you're doing well. Have a great day.